Hare Krishna, my friends. Welcome to Bhaktiville. This is Dasi Lane, and we're coming to you from Second Life. We're re-recording a little section of this class, just the beginning of the Shikshastakam. So we're on verse number 8 of the Shikshastakam, and these are the written words of Lord Caitanya, the only writing that we have of his still existent. This verse number 8 is really explains the ultimate goal of one's life. And if you want to look at the slide, we have it posted here on our Facebook page, but we also have it on a slideshow here in Bhaktiville. So I'll read it first, and then we can discuss. I do not know anyone except Krishna as my Lord, and he shall always remain as such, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or he may make me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, but he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his book about Shikshastakam, in his writings, the question arises for him, what is steadiness in perfection? So in reading this, that's what Lord Chaitanya's message is in this verse. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that this verse describes both abhideya and prayojana. It's the goal, the sadhya, the perfectional stage of bhakti, culminating in prema, or divine love, the ultimate goal of one's life. This verse has always troubled me because it sounds, it sounds almost abusive in the material sense. So this verse, let me just read what I've written here on this last slide. This verse describes the perfection of prema, that love for Sri Krishna. It is not like the love we may experience in material life. It is not motivated by selfishness or violence. The gopis, the cowherd girls, curse their eyelids for depriving them of that moment of seeing him as their eyes blink. This meeting and separation of our beloved Krishna in many situations is the subject of numerous Vaishnava books and songs, and are two sides of the same coin. Their love for him, the gopis, and his love for them is dedicated, devoted, unconditional, and mutual. This is the steadiness of love, while he is here or away, and the perfection of love. So all of those states that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, or that Lord Chaitanya mentioned in this verse, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me, completely free to do anything and everything, he's always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally, is the expression of a mutual relationship in love. Krishna is also pained by these things, and there are explanations and writings of Krishna crying and sobbing when these things happen to him also. So it's a mutual relationship of love and affection. So in our reading, in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, we are on page 81 of the PDF. And we're reading, we were interrupted because our time ran out, interrupted in our reading about the story of Sanatan and his brother Rupa, and what happened to them, how they ended up following Lord Chaitanya. So I'll backtrack a little bit. I'll start at the top of the page. This is the Nawab who is speaking Sanatana Goswami was not going to work. He stopped going to work. He had other people do his work for him, so the Nawab calls him out on it. He says, "You have submitted sick reports, but I sent my physician to see you, and he reported that you have no illness. I did not know why you were submitting sick reports and not attending to your service, so I have personally come to see you, and am much perturbed by your behavior. As you know, I am completely dependent on you and your responsible work in governing. I was therefore free to act in other matters because I was depending on you. But if you do not join me, your past devotion will be spoiled. Now, what is your intention? Please tell me." On hearing this, Sanatana Goswami replied that he was unable to work anymore, and it would be very kind of the Nawab if he appointed somebody else to execute the work that was entrusted to him. The Nawab became very angry at this and said, "Your elder brother lives like a hunter, and if you also retire from the administration, then everything will be finished." It is said that the Nawab used to treat Sanatana Goswami as a younger brother. The Nawab was engaged in conquering different parts of the country, and he was also engaged in hunting, and therefore he depended more or less on Sanatana Goswami for administration. And so he pleaded with him, "If you also retire from the government service, how will the administration be run?" Sanatana Goswami replied very gravely, "You are the governor of Goda, and you punish different kinds of criminals in different ways. So you are at liberty to punish anyone according to his activity." The purpose of his reply was that the governor was engaged in hunting animals and killing men to expand his kingdom. So let both of them suffer according to the acts they were performing. The Nawab was intelligent, and he understood Sanatana Goswami's purpose and left the place in an angry mood. Shortly afterward, he went off to conquer Orissa and ordered the arrest of Sanatana Goswami until he returned. Excuse me. Rupa Goswami then learned that his elder brother, Sanatan, had been arrested by the Nawab. He sent information by messenger that the 10,000 coins in Gouda, in Bengal, in custody of the grocer, could be used to release him from the Nawab's detention. As you recall last week, because there weren't banks, they would entrust their money to different people. So Rupa had entrusted his money to this grocer. Rupa Goswami, with his younger brother, whose name was Sri Vallabha, then started for Vrindavan to meet Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Sanatan offered 5,000 coins to the keeper of the jail in which he was being kept in custody. He advised the jail keeper to gladly accept the 5,000 coins from him and let him go, because by accepting such money, he would be materially benefited, and at the same time, he would be acting very righteously in freeing Sanatan for spiritual activities. The custodian replied, "Of course I can let you go, because you have done many services for me, and you are in government service. I know that, but I am afraid of the Nawab when he hears that you are free. I'll have to explain. How can I accept such a proposal?" Sanatan gave a story which the custodian might submit to the Nawab as to how he had escaped, and he then raised his offer to 10,000 coins. The custodian then agreed to the proposition, as he was very anxious to get the 10,000 coins, and so he let him go. Sanatan then proceeded to Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. He did not go on the open road, but traveled instead through the jungles until he arrived at a place in Bihar called Pabda and rested there in the hotel. The hotel keeper, meanwhile, was informed by an astrologer employed at the hotel that Sanatan Goswami had some gold coins with him, and he wanted to take them from him. And so he spoke with superficial respect. You just take your rest tonight, and in the morning I shall arrange for you to get out of this jungle trap. Sanatan, however, was suspicious of the behavior of the hotel keeper, and he inquired from his accompanying servant, Isan, whether he had some money. Isan told him that he had 7 gold coins with him. Sanatan did not like the idea of the servant carrying such money. He was angry with him and said, "Why do you carry this death knell on the road?" Sanatan at once took the 7 gold coins and offered them to the hotel keeper. He then requested the hotel keeper to help him through the jungle. He informed him that he was on a special journey for the government and could not travel on the open road, and therefore it would be very kind if the hotel keeper would help him get over the jungle mountain. The hotel keeper replied, "I understood that you had 8 coins with you, and I was thinking of killing you to take them. But you are very good, I can understand, and so you don't have to offer me the money. I'll get you out of the hill tract." Sanatan replied, "If you don't accept these coins, then somebody else will take them from me. Somebody will kill me for them, so better you take them. I offer them to you." The hotel keeper then gave him full assistance, and that very night he helped him to get past the hills. When Sanatan emerged, he requested his servant to go home with the 1 coin that he still had with him, and he would go on alone. After the departure of his servant, Sanatan felt completely free. With torn clothing and a water pot in his hand, he began to proceed toward Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. On the way, he met his rich brother-in-law, who was also in the service of the government, and who offered him an excellent blanket, which Sanatan accepted at his special request. Then he parted from him and went on alone to see Caitanya Mahaprabhu at Benares. Just a side note, Benares is Varanasi. Haribo Chitra. Chitra's just arrived. I'll keep reading.
Haribol.
When he reached Benares, Chitra, we're on page 83. When he reached Benares, he understood that the Lord was there, and he was very glad. He was informed by people that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu was staying at the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya, and he went there. Caitanya Mahaprabhu was inside the house, and he could understand that Sanatan had arrived at the door. He asked Chandrasekhar to call the man who was sitting at his door. He is a Vaishnava, a great devotee of the Lord. Chandrasekhar went out to see the man, but he saw no Vaishnava at the door. He saw only a man who appeared to be a mendicant. The Lord then asked to see the mendicant. When Sanatan entered the courtyard of the house, Lord Caitanya hurriedly came to receive him and embraced him. When the Lord embraced him, Sanatan became overwhelmed with spiritual ecstasy, and he began to say, "My dear Lord, please do not touch me." But both of them embraced each other and began to cry. Seeing Sanatan and Lord Caitanya acting thus, Chandrasekhar was struck with wonder. Lord Caitanya received Sanatan in this way and asked him to sit down with him on a bench. He was touching the body of Sanatan with his hand, and Sanatan asked him, "My dear Lord, please do not touch me." The Lord replied, "I am touching you just for my purification, because you are a great devotee. By your devotional service, you can deliver the whole universe for going back to Godhead." In this connection, the Lord quoted a nice verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. The purport of this verse is that a person who is a devotee of Lord Krishna, 100% engaged in devotional service, is far better than a Brahmin who is learned in all the Vedic literature, but who is not engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. The devotee can purify every place and everything because he is carrying the Supreme Lord within his heart. In the Vedic literature, it is also stated that the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not recognize even a person who is very learned in all the divisions of the Vedas, but rather he likes a person even if born of a low family, provided that person is a devotee. Instead of offering charities to some Brahmin who is not a devotee, if something is offered to a devotee, that offering is accepted by the Lord. In other words, anything offered to the Lord may be given to his devotees. Caitanya Mahaprabhu also quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam that if a Brahmin, although qualified with the 12 different qualities of a Brahmin, is not a devotee of the Supreme Lord, then he is lower than the lowest of the low, even though born in a high family. A devotee, although born in a Chandala, or dog-eater family, can purify his whole family for 100 generations past and future by devotional service, whereas a proud Brahmin cannot even purify himself. It is said in the Hari Bhakti Suddhodaya, O devotee of the Lord, to see you is the perfection of the eyes. To touch your body is the perfection of bodily activities. To glorify your qualities is the perfection of the tongue, because it is very rare to find a pure devotee like you. The Lord next said to Sanatan that Krishna is very merciful and is the deliverer of the fallen. He has saved you from Maharorabha. This Maharorabha, or hell, is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is for persons who are engaged in killing animals. It is stated there that butchers or animal eaters go to that hell. Sanatan replied, I do not know the mercy of Krishna, but I can understand that your mercy is causeless upon me. You have delivered me from the entanglement of material life. Then the Lord inquired, how did you get free from your custody? I understood that you were arrested. Sanatan narrated the whole story of how he was released. Lord Caitanya then informed him, I have seen your two brothers, and I have advised them to proceed toward Vrindavan. Lord Caitanya now introduced Chandrasekhar to Sanatan, and there was a pleasant invitation made for Sanatan to dine with him. The Lord requested Chandrasekhar to take Sanatan to the barber and make him gentle, because Sanatan had grown a long beard, which Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu did not like. He therefore asked Chandrasekhar to take Sanatan to a bath and get him clean shaved. He asked him to change his clothes also. After taking a bath and cleansing himself, Sanatan requested Chandrasekhar to give him some good cloth. When Lord Caitanya was informed that Sanatan did not accept new garments, but accepted only some used garments from Chandrasekhar, he was very glad. The Lord sat down for lunch and asked Chandrasekhar to keep food for Sanatan. Chandrasekhar did not offer him food immediately, however, but after the Lord finished his eating, there were some remnants of his foodstuff, and that was offered to Sanatan while the Lord went for his rest. After this, Lord Caitanya introduced one Maharashtrian Brahmin, his devotee, to Sanatan, and that Maharashtrian Brahmin invited Sanatan to accept lunch daily at his place, as long as he remained at Benares. Sanatan said, so long as I remain at Benares, I will beg from door to door, and the Lord will be so good as to accept from you this invitation for daily lunch at the Brahmin's house. By this behavior of Sanatan, Lord Caitanya was very much pleased, but he noticed the valuable blanket that was given to Sanatan by his brother-in-law while en route to Benares. Although Lord Caitanya was overlooking the blanket, Sanatan understood that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu did not approve of such a valuable garment on his body, and he planned to get rid of it. He immediately went to the bank of the Ganges, and there saw a mendicant washing an old quilt. Sanatan asked him to trade the old quilt for the valuable blanket. The poor mendicant thought that Sanatan was joking with him, so he said, "How is that? You appeared to be a very nice gentleman, but you are mocking me in this unmannerly way." Sanatan informed him, "I am not joking with you. I am very serious. Will you kindly exchange that torn quilt for this blanket?" Then Sanatan exchanged his blanket for the torn quilt, and he came before the Lord. The Lord inquired, "Where is your valuable blanket?" Sanatan informed him about the exchange of the Ganges of the blanket for the torn quilt. The Lord then loved him for this, and he thanked Sanatan. "You are intelligent enough, and you have now finished all your attraction for material wealth." In other words, the Lord accepts a person for devotional service only when he is completely free from all materialistic possessions. The Lord said to Sanatan, "It would not look well to become a mendicant and go begging from door to door, while at the same time you have such a valuable blanket on your body. It is contradictory, and people would look at it with abhorrence." Sanatan replied to the Lord, "Whatever I am doing to become free from material attachment, it is all your mercy." The Lord was very much pleased with him, and both of them discussed spiritual advancement. Previous to this meeting of Sanatan and Lord Chaitanya met the householder devotee Ramananda Roy. In that meeting, which is discussed in a different chapter, Lord Chaitanya asked Ramananda Roy questions, and Ramananda replied as if he were the teacher of the Lord. But in this case, Sanatan will put questions to the Lord, and the Lord will answer them. The instruction and teachings of Lord Chaitanya are very important for people in general. He teaches the process of devotional service, which is the constitutional position of every living entity. It is every man's duty to advance in spiritual science. All these things are very nicely discussed in the talks between Lord Chaitanya and Sanatan Goswami. At the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, Sanatan was able to put questions before him, and these are replied to properly. The meeting of Sanatan and Lord Chaitanya teaches us that in order to understand spiritual subject matters, one must approach a spiritual master, like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and make submissive inquiries. This is also confirmed in the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, that one should approach a man of authority and learn from him about spiritual science. You can also approach a woman of authority. So I throw that in there. Any questions on that chapter? We have lots of time left. Oh no, we have just one more minute. Well, then I should. Questions? So Bhaktiville says that that was an interesting chapter, and Chitra has no questions. All right, my friends. Well, it is an interesting story about how Rupa and Sanatan met Lord Chaitanya and the beginning of their adventure in bhakti, and further on going on into Vrindavan and coming back, and Lord Chaitanya teaching them so much about bhakti yoga and empowering them to write all the things that they did and discover all the things that they did in Vrindavan. So I look forward to reading more of this. So next week we'll begin with chapter 3. We've finished reading and thinking about, we won't ever stop thinking about the Shikshastakam, but we won't be reviewing those before class. Bhakti says, and it's interesting to think that This is God talking again and being personal with his devotee. Yes, I agree. I agree. Lord Chaitanya has come. Krishna has come as Lord Chaitanya and is teaching us, teaching them personally about Bhakti Yoga. Bhaktiville says, I don't always think of Lord Chaitanya as God. No, me either. Me either, but all of his opulences are present there in Lord Chaitanya, and the exhibits of ecstasy are unknown before this time. So it's very very important. I don't know how else to say that. Unprecedented that that the Lord came down to show this kind of ecstasy through devotional service as his own devotee, as Lord Chaitanya. So, Bhakti, are you able to play Prabhupada? Can you hear the music, or do you want me to play it? You can? You can with an apostrophe. Yes, you can. Okay. So, thank you everyone for coming. We're going to get up now and listen to Srila Prabhupada sing, and then we'll dance. And we will sing and dance and chant all week long. Have a wonderful week. Take care, everyone. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Didi, for the class.
You're very welcome. So good to see you, Chitra.
Nice to see you too on Bhaktiville.